Welcome everybody to another installment of App Marketing Conversations. I'm here with Ryan Morel of Gamehouse and Robi Ganguly of Apptentive. I'm Ian Sefferman of Mobile Dev HQ. We've been talking a lot about the new iPhones this week, and obviously everybody's sort of starting to get their hands on iOS7 now. From the marketer's perspective and from Mobile Dev HQ's perspective, one of the interesting things is around the new App Store. There's a bunch of new features that a couple people have played with the developer releases, but now they're out. Let's talk a little bit about today in the next 5 minutes. What are those features that are really interesting, and how can a marketer take advantage of them? So the first one, or maybe we'll start with the first two, which are actually editorially controlled, but I think provide a ton of value, is becoming featured, and the new kids apps, right? So let's talk about featured apps for a second. So what's sort of the headline that you noticed as you opened up the App Store for the featured apps?
Frankly, it doesn't look a whole lot different to me. I mean, I think that there's clearly more real estate, at least in my eyes. And what I actually noticed was that those featured apps are more prominent in the charts than I would have expected. So things like OmniFocus, which I've never seen anywhere in the charts, show up right at the top of top grossing. So it could be just people are playing with new iOS7 and they want to buy whatever it is, or it could be that they're featured driving more downloads, right? Because it's a feature was starting to tail off in terms of its importance.
Right, and I think this is sort of like this week is sort of the equivalent of of Christmas Day, right? Yeah. Where it's like, if your app is smart enough, good enough, whatever, to get featured right now, you're going to be
looking pretty good.
You're looking pretty good. What are sort of the top 1 to 2 tips of how to get featured for a new iOS?
Well, I mean, I think the clear thing here is you have to really jump all in on iOS 7, right? You have to understand how it works, how the apps that they've redesigned themselves work and utilize the new operating system, and what you can do to show it off. If you can do something that really shows off iOS 7, that shows you're committed to it, they're likely to show it off as a good example of how iOS 7 is something that other developers should switch to and consumers should be adopting. So I think that's number one. And number two is, on the flip side of that, you don't want to rush, right? Like, Apple is the worst ecosystem to rush in, partially because of their own doing, right? They have delays around publishing your app. Those delays are going to get worse over the next 3 months, right? Yeah. So you're not going to have as many windows if you put out bad stuff. I would say you need to be a little bit more careful with the quality.
That's right, yeah. And I think the kids app, by the way, is exactly the same. Showing off great features for kids. Branding and design is like a huge portion of getting featured. Apple will never feature you if your design isn't great, yeah, and doesn't match up with theirs. Okay, so those are sort of the editorially controlled ones, and then I think some of the more algorithmic ones that there's been changes to. Top Charts has had changes. You guys have probably seen this a lot as well, where rating is more important in the top charts now than it ever was. Yep. How can developers use the new changes of ratings and in conjunction with what's going on in iOS 7 to jump in the charts?
Well, I think you have a brand new customer base that you could potentially get to if you were jumping out of the depths of the charts to the top, right? And you get introduced to this whole new customer base. You have this huge opportunity to win them over, and we all say that listening to those customers really early on, especially in a new iOS release, is going to help you do 2 things. One, establish a relationship with the customers. 2, learn faster, right? And so it seems to me monumentally important to talk to your customers just so you can learn how iOS 7 will work for the consumer. Nobody knows, right? For 3.5 months, we've had everybody and their mother in iOS land telling us what iOS 7 meant. Nobody knows until 57 million consumers are using it every day. So Just listen to your customers.
And lastly is the apps near me, the new apps near me feature of the App Store, which so I'll give you 2 data points since I was in 2 cities yesterday. In Chicago by my sister, the apps near me were the Lotto update was #1, and the next 4 were Chicago Transit things. Here where we are, which is in the Techstars office, surrounded by Amazon, it is the South Lake Union Shuttle is #1, which, by the way, I don't have a clue what that is. Then the rest were Amazon Cloud Drive, Sunrise Calendar, Cody Fitness. They're in the building, and I forget what the last one was. Is near me actually anything that marketers can take advantage of?
Well, my initial thought was no, but I think it's something that frankly startups can take advantage of, right? So instead of, it's hard to control where your apps go, and it's really hard to control how you acquire users, and location-based advertising is expensive, and put install advertising on top of that, now you've got even more expensive advertising, but if you're talking about doing like a rolled out plan of acquiring consumers, it's pretty interesting, right? Like, hey, let's see if we can go get 1,000 users in Seattle. I don't know what the number is, but if I get 1,000 users in Seattle, does that get me in the near me section? And then can I drive more users that way? It's kind of, at previous company, we always had this belief that there will always be more people around you than you could ever possibly be friends with, and that's why location is more interesting than kind of your social graph in terms of app downloads. So I think it's interesting, but it's on the local level or on a phased approach to rolling out nationally.
Yeah, it becomes. I mean, it's standard like physical retail store type strategy where like test a location, move it to somewhere else, and it goes back to sort of what Facebook did, right? Start at Harvard, move to other Ivies, move broader in colleges, move to high schools, move everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that you brought up as you're talking about that it strikes me as a clear opportunity is, so yeah, startups maybe can benefit from this as a really grassroots marketing campaign. Franchises, chains, right, that have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars into building their apps in order to get people through the lines faster. Why aren't they showing up in that list, right? Why can't I order from specialties, or I can order from specialties, but why isn't it showing me that I can, right? Oh, I didn't know they had an app. Boom, from my desk. Now I have that utility.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Specialties does not have an app.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
you can order in their store.
If it's an app, they have exactly. They have an app on an iPad in their store, but there's no app outside.
Well, that's an interesting point. So you wonder how much that. Where's the connection to potential payment opportunities?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to start showing companies near me that are connected to Apple Payments or whatever it is. That's interesting.
Yep. All right, great. So the I think top line is the new App Store provides a bunch of new features. Those features are things that all marketers should be thinking about in some way. Be sure to watch all of the other videos. Like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and see you soon.